chewable vitamins. And pasteurized, homogenized, glow-in-the-dark, remote-controlled, Darth Vader, larvicide, fungicide, herbicide, suicide, genetically modified, hormonally altered, chalk-filled, blood-filled, pus-filled milk in a plastic leaching jug cut with tap water. All that's true.
I said, what's your problem? Orange Day, sir. Okay, I'm feeling fine, thank you. Thank you, sir. Here you are, sir. Thank you.
The original frequencies were once used in ancient Gregorian chants, such as the Great Hymn to John the Baptist, as well as several others that church authorities said were lost centuries ago. During religious masses, these chants were sung to impart tremendous spiritual blessings when sung in harmony. There are 6 frequencies to the entire track. The first frequency is used to liberate your guilt and fear. The second frequency is used to undo situations and facilitate change. The third frequency is used to perform repair on your DNA to initiate transformation and miracles. The solfeggio ascension frequencies are guaranteed to work. For example, the third frequency, frequency 528, relates to the mi note and derives from the phrase mira gestorum, which in Latin means miracle. It is this exact frequency used by genetic biochemists to repair broken DNA. The Catholic Church presumably lost these original chants. The chants were based on the ancient original scale of 6 musical notes called the solfeggio. It was a transparent attempt to hide these incredibly powerful chants, so none of the masses could energize their soul. It was all about control and concealment to prevent people from gaining the amazing benefit of these frequencies.
The next video is actually a person, their voice, shown in schematics. And she's just doing vowels. So now we can see why the previous video was indeed so very important. Okay, so in my video, I think it was Amalgaman Maximum Novelty Health 5. It may have been number 4, Amalgaman Maximum Novelty Health Video 4. I read out a mega magnesium supplement that I had. So I just wanted to show this to add to that. And I'm holding the supplement right now, so I've got the diglycinate. So I've got that one, relaxing, good absorption rate, leaky gut and nerve pain it treats. And I've got the chelate, which I don't see here. And chloride, detoxing metabolism, kidney function. So I did pick up a pretty good supplement in the end. It's good to know. Alright, just to add to that previous section on magnesium from this website here. What you may or may not know is that magnesium deficiency can be associated with many conditions such as even anxiety, stress, involuntary muscle movements, muscle spasms, and more. Magnesium prevents cardiovascular disease, even they think. You thought that cholesterol and saturated fat were dangerous. Now, we've gotten past that. We know that saturated fats can be good, the right types of them, like coconut oil. You thought they were dangerous to your cardiovascular system. Well, studies are showing that low level of magnesium can be the single largest contributor to cardiovascular disease. Oh, amazing. Okay, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Anyway. Recent studies are pointing out that magnesium plays a significant role in regulating blood pressure. Studies are showing that higher daily intake of magnesium can help regulate the blood pressure substantially. The result of studies point to magnesium being an important dietary supplement in preventing hypertension. Magnesium prevents osteoporosis. Yeah, so magnesium is a large part of the bone health thing. And if you're a coffee drinker, even more so, because magnesium's an alkaline mineral, and which means due to coffee's high acidity, and I mean high, people reckon that, people estimate that to balance 1 cup of coffee you need about 8 to 30 glasses of alkaline water, just to balance 1 cup of coffee. So it's highly acidic. Now there are 2 types of metabolism wherein one person wakes up acidic. I think that's me, and that's the petrol type, and you don't want to get on a coffee in the morning. I want to eat alkaline stuff, and I think that's me. Then there's another type of metabolism who's the opposite and wakes up alkaline, who a coffee may be very good for. So there are nuances in health, don't forget. So when you drink a lot of coffee, we just say, even if you are the one that wakes up alkaline, if you drink too much coffee in that day, say more than a cup in the morning, is probably enough, then you're going to start to strip your body of minerals, alkaline minerals such as calcium, magnesium, and the body pulls these to balance itself from your bones, from your teeth, etc. So magnesium is very important because a lot of people I notice drink coffee. It's one of the largest addictions in the world. So one of many functions that magnesium supports or plays in our body as a role in the body is to facilitate absorption of calcium. Magnesium is the magic ingredient that turns calcium into strong and hard bones. Being deficient in magnesium can lead to lower absorption of calcium, presenting a risk factor for osteoporosis. Magnesium lowers the risk of diabetes, specifically magnesium intake of 350 milligram to 400 milligram per day, significantly lowers the risk of type 2 diabetes. Studies are showing that daily intake of supplemental magnesium can lower the risk of getting type 2 diabetes by 47%. So in the order of 400 milligram per day can probably cut your chances of diabetes in half, they think. Well, not if you're just still raising your insulin levels every day by a high sugar intake. So you do have to cut things out for these type of things to work really good, because otherwise that 47% is just not going to be actually happening. So you'd need to cut your sugar right down and then take 400 milligram of magnesium per day, and then it would be 47% or thereabouts. That's how it would work. Magnesium is essential for a good night's sleep. Yeah, I think so too, actually. Maybe not essential, but yeah, it's definitely a factor. That's how I would say it's definitely a factor. Magnesium is a critical element in muscle relaxation, which is critical to many psychological processes. Yeah, agreed. Magnesium helps with the transition into and through stages of sleep. Insomnia can be seen as a symptom of magnesium deficiency, according to these guys. Now, there's something in that, because it definitely affects your psychological tinkering of your brain and conductivity and hectic. Magnesium can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. As previously mentioned, magnesium plays a huge role in our mental health. In fact, the body uses more magnesium in times of psychological stress. So that's how we know that. For a person who is already magnesium deficient, this can lead to anxiety and depression as well. Magnesium, like dopamine, is one of those essential resources your brain needs to function properly. Basically, not like have a shorting out effect. Basically, if you want your brain to function properly and efficiently, you should provide it with magnesium. So I just want. Okay, so I'm continuously spieling on about Rudolf Steiner's biodynamic gardening, and I was just looking at a PDF of it. Of someone's PDF, explaining and extrapolating the biodynamic method with pictures such as. And so that's the difference for people. That's the basic difference. Biodynamics really creates some really good soil, and it's also putting in frequency, because Rudolf Steiner was a frequency person too. He could see, he associated things with colors and everything, so he could see in that way. And I believe some of his weird methods, like if you would put a deer antler in there and mix it with that or whatever his methods were, some of them I've heard were pretty far out. In the end, his methods were for putting a certain energy in the food and in the ground and so on, as well as just making damn good soil, So here's this little chart of a biophoton test comparing organic carrots with biodynamically grown carrots. And look how much. They're almost basically twice as good in biophoton. So, there you go. Kohlrabi? Oh my god. That's way better. Kohlrabi is a cruciferous, if I remember correctly. So it's going to have the indole 3-carbinol as well. So there you go. There's a big difference, and I just wanted to show everyone, because it's not, some people don't understand, and it's not a little difference. That's why I said Jalna biodynamic yogurt, or really good biodynamic yogurts with multiple positive, the really good cultures of not just Acidophilus bifidus, all the other, like 4 cultures or more in their yogurt, and when they're biodynamic, are capable of being your mouthwash instead of fuel inside, and who knows what else is in Listerine and so on, those sorts of products, instead of putting ester or whatever in your mouth. So I think this kind of explains it and can show everyone exactly how much better the end pragmatic results can be. And you guys are always so worried about the pragmatic. I'm always so worried about the spiritual. But hey, there's your pragmatic picture, there's your little chart and all that. So there you go. That's why I always am talking about the Jalna as, or just generally biodynamic, multicultural yogurts. Pot set too. Remember, if we want to keep the energy, well, it'd be best if you could make your own and then eat it straight out of the pot too, sort of thing, and not put it in plastic after. That'd be even better, obviously. But yeah, we're pretty much at the height of it. I think we're doing great with having products like Jalna and biodynamically grown yogurts and foods. And there you go, people, there's the difference.
Yeah.
Hi guys, so this is a slide from a longevity conference, Longevity Now Program 2 with David Wolf as the presenter. And he's always talking about, fungus and coral-like organisms being the culprit behind arthritis. And so here finally I've seen the pictures of them. And so we have a good visual here, so I thought I'd just quickly record this so we have the nice visual of the little fellas. And we can navigate, or we can mitigate, these fellows with the zapper and zeolite, and that can break off the little shell that they form with mercury, uranium, arsenic to ward off or keep out your immune cells, and that's how they stay in your body and scar your body, which is killing us and cause the arthritic symptoms. Then we would use like garlic and stuff. Now you would maybe use lemon. You just would attack it like this, in my opinion. I'd just start going at it like that. Obviously you would see a health professional, but this is just law building or knowledge building, and this is just my opinion. So apple cider vinegar and so on, and I would recommend CBD and CBG cannabis extract tinctures in a high alcohol solution as well for apoptosis. Once you're getting all these guys loosened up, you want to clean up all the cells and all the half-dead cells and so on, and enzymes for better lysis, which is another deconstruction of cell. And yeah, I'd move sort of like that if I was attacking this. Okay, here with Benjamin Kallenberg from consciousazine.com Productions. I've asked through ResearchGate, oh, it's off the screen. You can, oh yeah, no, you can see that. Through ResearchGate, which is I think part of my university somehow, unless it's a cross-university platform. I've asked a guy here about the chemical constituents of Ganoderma philippi, and he's replied. So what a wonderful world we live in, because I saw he had a lot of hectic looking big hard word articles. And yeah, so thanks for that. I won't try to pronounce your name, but thank you, muchas gracias. And so he's provided this here, this chemical constituents from Ganoderma philippi. Now this is the mushroom that I found and took one home with me to experiment with in 2014 summer food foraging video on the $50 or $30 Bandit food plant teaching series. And yes, I'm lifting it from 30 to 50 so that when I'm in other countries, you know, I can still do it, because you never know how far I'll have to travel and this and that. It's only an extra $20. It's okay. So the chemical investigation on Ganoderma philippi led to the isolation of 16 compounds by silica gel and Cephadex LH 20-column chromatography. On the basis of spectroscopic data analysis, their structures were elucidated as 2 and 5 dihydroxyacetophenone, methylgentisate, dimethyl malate, murula, DN11-beta-OL, dihydropybubenol, it's got my name in there, 5-hydroxylmethylfuran carboxyldehyde ergosta. I think those were the anti-tumoral ones, if I remember from the research in that video I made. I can't remember. I've made a comment, we'll read in a minute. 22E-DN 3-beta-ol, ergosta 7, attached to this, then it must mean 22E-DN 2-beta 3-alpha 9-alpha triol, 6-beta methyloxergo, STA7, 22E-dean 3-beta 5-alpha diol, ergosta 4, 6 and 8, 22E tetrian 3-1, ergosta 4, 6, 8, negative 14 or something, 22E da-da-da. Alright, well, let's not read through them all. All compounds were obtained from this fungus for the first time. Oh, maybe he just meant like they didn't, this was the first run over or something. I thought he meant that, and 4 to 5 compounds were isolated from the Gonoderma genus for the first time. Oh, yeah. So he's saying that they found new compounds, and I said, are you sure? Anyway, here's my comment. I said, so, really, new compounds found, never before, are you sure? Now, I do not know what all this is saying exactly. Obviously, as I'm not a chemist, etc., I'm a business IT specialist and more outside of university. But could somebody please explain some of these compounds to me in an alternative medicine sense? Could I create a healing tincture for what out of this? Possibly anti-tumoral, if I remember correctly, when I created my food plant teaching video, which had this mushroom in it, and I researched the compounds. I could only understand so much when I self-researched these compounds. Would someone please elaborate these compounds into how they could be used and for what? So let's hope that they come and answer my comment. Then we know how to use Gonoderma philippi to heal ourselves. Now, Gonoderma, if you don't know why I even bothered with this range of mushrooms, because Gonoderma lucidium is the queen of all mushrooms. It's reishi mushroom. So as soon as you get into health and the alternative medicine world, etc., you learn about reishi mushroom. And then obviously David Wolf brought chaga mushroom to the forefront, and he's saying that that is the king of all mushrooms, medicinally speaking. And I love how chaga mushroom actually has melanin, I think, and it's anti-skin cancer. I've been trying to find that because I'm a surfer. And also what's anti-skin cancer, and in the same sort of way, melanin is black fungus, which is also in another video in my food plant teaching series. Alright, even more update on Gonoderma philippi. And I'm pissed off because this is the same shit that I come across every day. I walk into a chemist, they put silica with dioxide. What fucking morons. Yeah, you're going to oxidize yourself and get nauseous by taking one of the best substances in the world, silica. Great. You know, you walk into a chemist and you can't even get melanin for your skin when they could extract it from black fungi, for instance. I'm sick of the arrogance of these people. Anyway, this guy, I asked him, can any of these compounds in Gonoderma, be used for a tincture or anything? And he said, the new compound was conferred blah, 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 but not means this mushroom a nostrum for disease. What's nostrum mean? A medicine prepared by an unqualified person, especially one that is not considered effective. And I went, oh, that's an insult. I said, so no nostrum can be created. Who mentioned nostrum anyway? I mentioned something called tinctures, which are highly effective delivery systems. And I had further comments saying it doesn't look like you know anything anyway about it. And I said, well, let's see if we can expand, yeah. What's the point of, I said there's no further research into these compounds, to see if and test if indeed they could be used this way as tinctures. Then what's the point of exploring in the first place? To sit there and say, oh great, we found some compounds, let us just sit there and stare at them like a zombie. You know what I'm saying? Ridiculous, sick of it. There needs to be some harmony between the scientists and the shamans. Hello everyone, just talking to Veronica here, and we're just talking about a crash landing of anemia. And I know people who meditate a lot and then they got anemia and crash landed. And I have a problem. I've got a bone to pick. No, I've got an issue because people I run into as the site creator of consciousazine a lot, thousands, and it's every day, what I call airheads. And these are the very too far left people because they hate the societal too far right. So they went too far left. And so the notion is unbalanced. And they're the over-veganism people. They're the people who talk just law of attraction, unconditional love. These people are who I've got a problem with. Because I feel that to the too far right people, that these too far left airheady sort of people are throwing our whole movement to the sideline by making us look, I don't want to use the airy-fairy word because I have the fairy archetype, but they're making us look airy-fairy. And this is where that whole saying comes from, and which is I don't like it because I actually have fairy archetype, and airy-fairy is not necessarily to do with being an airhead. So it's one of those organic portal nomenclatures that's been fucked up. And I can see why they've created it, these too far right people, the societals, the sleep people. I know why they've created it, because you're being too crazy airhead. The balance is the notion, and we need discernment. So I have a problem. We were just talking about some people meditate a lot, and then they forget they have a body. And I was talking about eating meat, and how I made a blood type eating video recently. And in that video, I was just saying, and this is why I'm shooting the segment, because I should have added this at the end as an axiom. What's an axiom? It's like the speed of light is an axiom to science. It's a fundamental. So as an axiom, I think I should have added this to the end of my blood type eating video where I said we require meat to live fully maximum greatness, to 150 telomere length, to be fully healthy and not neurotic, and not airhead, and not this, and balance is the notion, basically. So, and this is what I just want to say. This is all, I just previously mentioned all that just for this. We ascend and we descend. We don't just go ascend, or like on a mutual plane. We don't just go on a mutual plane airheading about in our beliefs. Life's not like that. Life's like this. It's ascending and descending. Now I understand there's been a whole movement against the lower, and I am very fifth dimensional, I'm very higher, and I'm very visionary, thank you very much. My septum pellucidum is very clear to accept my pineal scintillations, and my cingulate gyrus definitely integrates this into the higher brain, which the coffee drinkers don't get that. I just made a post on the cingulate gyrus and disintegration of your scintillations from your pineal. Anyway, so I'm fine, thanks, anyone who's watching. So I think life is ascending and descending. I'm not just saying eat meat every day, but I'm saying I have an O positive blood type, and now and then I seem to, even when I'm eating hemp seeds, so far anyway, I'll let you know if it changes. But to be fully healthy, I've noticed that sometimes I crash land. Now, not really crash as much, but I descend. Now, if you're like this and you're meditating, you don't ever eat like food properly, and you just say eat an orange at the end of the day, and you're going like this, you're going to crash land. And this is what I've noticed people, and it cannot be you might not get anemia, you might crash land into dementia, Alzheimer's, something else. You might crash land into neurosis, which is what I'm seeing in a lot of vegans. And there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in the vegans. I mean, I can't even mention meat. It hits a boom, and they can't even continue talking to you. I mean, I feel this, and the boom, it's a cognitive dissonance. And largely to do with the septum pellucidum as well, by the way. Cognitive dissonances are. And you won't hear any scientists say that. It's because I'm a visionary. Now, if you're not ascending and descending, you're going to crash land. I don't care, it's your life. Go ahead, have your crash landing. But I've warned you, and if you want to not listen, that's up to you, and you have full freedom, just like I have full freedom to say this. So I think life is like this, not like this. and not just like this. I think we ascend and we descend. So every couple of weeks I end up having a chicken sandwich. So sue me and kill me. Hang me. I'm a heretic. And I'm proud of it. Because we're the ones who changed history. It was never the non-heretic who changed history. Never. It was always the heretic. It was always the one that they couldn't believe until it was obvious. We all know the 3 stages of truth. And I'm sick of coming across this as a site creator of consciousazine, and my own friends and my own customers that I have to consult have to do this. So you all need to wake up, as the fancy saying goes, that life is not like this. It's not monotone. And I think we descend as well as ascend. This is the main message today. Sorry if I've taken a mean tone. Jesus Christ. It's because you have to get it in there. You have to jam this in your head. This is how the head works. Neurology takes movement. It's why a cognitive dissonance exists, to stop the movement of the neurology so the neuron doesn't make the new connection. So, to conclude, I think life is ascending and descending. Ascending, descending. You have a body in the 2nd and 3rd dimensionality. You're not just a spirit. Yes, you're that and all that good stuff too, but we descend and we are here in form. So don't forget we're here in form. Stop saying that everyone has to become vegan forever and beyond, and that's the only way. There are many ways up the mountain of ascension. You know, it's not cool going ahead and saying this because it's hurting people. Saying, well, you have to do this, and that's frequency control, and you're stuffing up your own septum pellucidums, and you're creating your own cognitive dissonances. Again, you're free to do so, but I have to live in the world with you idiots. So I'm going to speak up. I'm going to say something as a betrayer Christ, and as a Christ who speaks up. Sorry to all the Buddha energies who are there right now going, but as a Christ, I speak. Crack consciousness. That's what I call Christ energy. It's very forward and outspoken, and the Buddhic energy is very soft, so they'll have a hard time accepting what I'm saying now. Every Buddha energy person out there. But I don't care. That's not going to stop me from speaking and being who I am. And I think this was a very important note to say we ascend and descend, and we have form, and maybe some people do need meat. Maybe you're not the all-knowing everything thing, huh? And maybe veganism isn't the only way and should be for everyone forever. Perhaps realize how stupid that sounds as well. It's like when I say to people there's the big 3, self-education, meditation, and psychedelia. And if you leave out psychedelia, good luck. Good luck becoming an actual great. Anyway, so I think it's very important because you're hurting people. You're hurting people with saying you have to be this way. It's a belief or be lie. A be life. A be lie. A be life. A belief. So you're telling people, nah, you have to be veganism. Yeah, I understand all the stuff with meat, the parasites and everything. I've studied more than half the vegans I've met. So I'm sick of hearing this, and it's perpetual airhead nature, and it stuffs our own movement. Think about how much more balanced it would be to say how I've said it. Veganism should be the broad base for everyone. Now that's something you can say. You know, maybe not even that. Or maybe I can't say it. Maybe someone needs dairy as their base. Now, it's unlikely. It's more likely that veganism should be the base for like most or all people. But you can't say veganism is the only way for everyone forever. This is just nonsense, you know. And it's not thinking. It's getting to a place where you don't have to think anymore because you think you've reached the answer, the thrill that kills. And it's killing you. And that's what I'm saying. You're not just killing your own brain, you're hurting other people. So I felt this was a very important note. Thank you.
day is coming soon, and the time it will come to make a move. So it's better if you're ready, best to walk before you run, 'cause time keeps moving steady, and before you know it's over and it's done. Change your change your mind. And I heard that it's been said, there's a time and there's a place for everything. Headed for all the trouble in me. And I heard that it's been said, there's a time and there's a place for everything. Headed for all the trouble in the brain. Change your
Hello everyone, we're just going to try and get some of the info from this Namulgi garden. Can't remember if I pronounced that right. I mean, most of you know about all these normal sort of plants, so I mean I can probably skip that a bit. But So there's a nice little setup. She's just got signs, which does like make me a bit more excited to buy them. So if you've got just these white things and you're selling plants like this, you might want to think about the same thing, because the lady here said that she thinks she notices a difference. More people can just sort of see what they want easier and just quickly pick it up, instead of really having to stare into the little white tag here. There's tatsoi. Some people might not know about that one. I shot a video on that one already. And here's the kangkong. This is the place that I got the kangkong vine. So you can see it's a water spinach, and you do need to put it in a watery soil. I did manage to grow it in broad daylight, all day sun, quite harsh summer sun, but it only just made it through, and I had to water it all the time. So you definitely want to put it down in a sort of more swampier sort of spot that might get a bit more wetness and a little bit of shade to it, because it was quite hard to grow that kangkong vine out directly in the sun. There's a few little random plants around that I've never heard of. Gazania. That's not a food plant though, that one. So anyway, I wanted to show you guys, oh, there's the Jobiticaba. You can see the fruits on there. They discovered a new depside in this, which is apparently an anthocyanin or antioxidant. So a new sort of antioxidation came from the Jobiticaba. So let's see what she's got written here. You guys can read that. Yep. It's very high antioxidant, and like I said, they even discovered a new one. Now here's the Tamarillo tree. It's Tamarillo, isn't it? It's not Tamartillo, is it? Tamarillo, yeah. Here's the Tamarillo, and there's the inside of the fruit. That's the first one I've actually eaten, because every time I've bought one I haven't been able to stay around for the fruit. So you can see a few on the ground here. That's when you know fruit's ready, when it's on the ground, because the plant's secreted the last of the sugars right at the end, so it's ready for the mammals to eat. But one thing I wanted to note was you can see how some of these stalks go a little bit longer. So what you can do is just tip it on the way up to produce more fruit, more offshoots and more fruit. You can see up the top here it starts to get, you know, a few more branches around and branch out a bit. And so if you want more fruit there, you might want to tip it a bit more from the beginning, so you don't get the long stalks. Equals more fruit, more produce. So yeah, there's a bit of plants here. This is out at Yukai, Australia, and you can just Google Maps it, and it's the first left into town. All natural rainforest plants, rainforest trees, and very cheap too. Have a look at some of the prices: $6 and $5, $8, $12 max. So really cheap, and you can get your garden going pretty quickly. She's got the Vietnamese mint here for $3. So yeah, this is where I've sourced a lot of like rarer plants. Like you've seen all of these, you know, we all know about rocket and kale. Rocket's a good one to grow just in cracks. If you've got like an outside pavilion with just bricks and then, you know, like wide, even a centimetre large crack, just throw some of the rocket seeds in there and they'll come up through there even. So that's a good one to just scatter around everywhere, I reckon. Anyway, I do encourage you guys to grow sort of more exotic plants, the plants that we don't have everywhere, so that we can all exchange things. For instance, there's police. For instance, there's a crystals place down here, and you can imagine if everyone offered a different service. This is like a new earth paradigm, a new way to sort of get around. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and you could visit this lady's little stall here out at Yukai. Do you know what it's called?
What's that?
The bee? It's just a native Australian bee in North New South Wales. I don't know what it is.
Species.
I don't know what it is, but
That looks like the native black bee.
little black
Which
bee.
They just commonly call as the native black bee. But I don't know the actual genus name of them.
Oh, look at that. Nice. Oh my god. My last camera was a Fujifilm underwater camera. So this is much better, eh? Oh, zooming in. Oh. Okay, so we just saw that picture of the bees there, which a lot of people don't know about. Thought that was just a funny one to throw in first. So, on an unfunny note, to Newspeak, on a less comical note, we've got a literal worldwide honeybee collapse. Now, this is not good. For anybody who doesn't realise why this is ungood, or not so good, not so beneficial to your life and so on, is because the bees pollinate everything. And what's that mean? Well, they go over to the flower. Species of plant are like humans, where they need to have sex and then they create a fruit, just like a baby. So the bee goes from a male plant to a female, from a male flower to a female flower. And not all plants reproduce this way, by the way, but a majority of them do. I think that's called the angiosperms type of plants. Anyway, doesn't matter to those exact things, but the point is that bees pollinate many, many, many plants, and at least half of the stuff at your grocery store would go missing if the bees went missing. And we just would not have as much variety of food. Now, my numbers might not be accurate, it might be more like 3/4 of the food would go missing. A lot of the food would go missing. You would definitely regret it, in my opinion anyway. I think it's very regrettable. So there's a lot of this happening from, Monsanto and all the pesticides we use, and also Wi-Fi technology towers, and there's a few factors that play into this actually from my research into it. And we're not here to research for hours on end, because I'm amalgamating this through my voice for you, so that you can go check if I'm right or wrong. Feel free. But this is pretty much the general story. There's a worldwide honeybee collapse, and you can just look this up. And I just thought I'd put this in because this is something that I mentioned in one of my $30 Bandit food plant teaching video series videos, where I showed I had only one capsicum on my plant, and since I have grown other capsicums, and more capsicums do appear in areas where other people grow them more, and when there's bees around. For instance, I was just working on a farm, and because there was bees around, you get a lot of fruit real quickly, because they're flying around pollinating, taking the pollen of one flower in the middle of a flower, putting it into another flower, and creating, and then that creates the buds and fruits and so on. And without this, a lot of food would go missing. I think it's a very important thing. We could have a look at the numbers to shock some people, because sometimes we need a type of shock therapy to make us go, oh, whoa, it's really that bad. So here they're even blaming habitat destruction, definitely, air pollution even.
So there you go, there's some things I even left out. Here they mention some companies, the chemical companies Bayer, Syngenta, BASF, Dow, DuPont and Monsanto. They're responsible largely for this as well. Ocean acidification, the European Commissioner for Health and Consumer Policy calculates that bees contribute more than 22 billion annually to European agriculture. Why are we always measuring things in money again? I forgot. Oh, because we're in a scarcity-based system in an abundant universe, that's right. So bees pollinate human food valued at more than $350 billion, or 265 euro. So it makes a stupid estimate. This is stupid. The bee collapse is, how about if the bees die, half your food dies? That's a way better estimate than a few dollar estimates. So the bee collapse is a challenge for human enterprise on the scale of global warming, ocean acidification and nuclear war, definitely. Now, the collapse has been a lot. I wish here they... Okay, here we go. They do have a nice estimate. In the US, where bee collapse first appeared, winter losses commonly reached 30 to 50%, and in some cases more. Now, I've heard more. In 2006, David Hackenberg, a beekeeper for 42 years, reported a 90% die-off among his 3,000 hives. So that whole area, wherever he lives, that whole area has declined by in the order of up to 90%. That's basically they're gone, right? A couple more percent and that's 100% gone. So the US National Agriculture Statistics show a honeybee decline from about 6 million hives. So a decline of honeybees from 6 million hives in 1947 to 2.4 million hives in 2008, a 60% reduction. The number of working bee colonies per hectare provides a critical metric of crop health. Now that's what I was saying, that I've noticed from working on a farm and just from gardening myself before that, that when there's less bees in the area and when there's less flowering plants in the area, that less fruit comes on in general. And that's why my boss, Tim, had a lot of beehives on his farm, so that he could keep his passion fruit production at its top peak all the time. So, among crops that require bee pollination, the number of bee colonies per hectare has declined by 90% since 1962. The bees cannot keep up with the pace, with the winter die-off rates and habitat loss, and then the chemicals and etc. as well. So not only do they die out over winter, and that's kind of a natural thing that occurs, what they're saying is the bees can't keep pace with that natural winter die-off plus our burdens, the burdens that we're creating on their environment. So look, I thought it was a very important note, and I just wanted to show people the exact sort of numbers, that they are quite critical. So there you go. You can cross-correlate for yourself, because I don't want to sit here for half an hour talking about this. Alright, let's do a bit of recording. Hi, I'm the site creator of consciousazine.com. If you don't know me, Benjamin Kallenberg, and all my other aliases we can forget for now. Obi Ben Kalnobi. So, to do with health that I haven't talked about. I've talked about a lot of physical health, a lot of second dimensional health, and we won't go into explanation of the dimensionality. There's a 12-dimensional, 13-dimensional possibly model that I use. A kind of model for physicality or physical creation. And the dimensions create down dimensionally. And the second dimension just so happens to be the building blocks of variety, the atoms, the molecules, the physical end of things. And say the ninth dimension, the time waves, or divine pulsations. Now, as we come down through seventh dimensional tunnel harmonics and onto our sixth dimensional grids, and through the fifth dimensional living light membrane layer, which is the warp and loop of Webb, that string theory sort of zone, the unified field, some scientists might know it as, and then we become tangential in the fourth dimension, emotional energy, motion, emotionality, and so on, and spin of particles. You get polarization then, and then into the third dimensional where things are zonal realities. I am a third dimensional zonal reality. The third dimension is not just a cross section. I've heard other people explain it like that, but that just does not give away enough meaning, I feel. So I'd rather explain the third dimension as zonal realities, and then you can understand it a bit better. How the particle works, or how I work. My life is a third dimensionality. And the life of the particle is its third dimensionality. And then the second dimension is really that, not the first dimension, the ground and plane of being, but it's almost there, right? Where things touch, even though things don't touch. If we remember that Down the Rabbit Hole, What the Bleep Do We Know movie, where they're dribbling the basketball in the court and then the scientists say nothing actually touches. Doesn't that go back to Walter Russell's everything comes from the inside, there's still single light sort of philosophy? You can read Walter Russell's The Secret of Light on Scribd, scribd.com, which is the world's largest free publishing website. So you can just go on there and read that reading for free. I've talked a lot about second dimensionality of things, what we eat, what molecules we want in our body. You want resveratrol, you want honey, you want, olive oil for the oleorepair and all this stuff, right? I've talked a lot about second dimensional health. Now what I really want to talk about is the fourth dimensional sort of astral analogous plane and emotionality and psychosomatics. Somatics means of the body. Now, everything's inextricably linked. It's not like we have the body over here and then higher dimensions are somewhere else. It's in, onward, and upward. So it's within. All the Eastern philosophies know this really well, except maybe they haven't put the names of certain dimensions to things. And that's what I'm doing, because I'm an eclectic indigo, here standing at the end of history, not kneeling in the side of the old kings. Fuck you, old kings, and your burning of the books. Anyway, so the psychosomatics, some people will say everything comes back to psychosomatics. I kind of like when they say that, and I kind of agree. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say it doesn't matter what you eat if your mind's not right, so to speak. I'm not going to go that far, because it does matter what we eat, because again, everything is inextricably linked. And say you eat the worst food ever, and you're on junk food, your reality, or your third dimension, turns to junk. It starts to affect, somehow, it's not like it might not go up dimensionally, but it affects that part of you that is here, and that is your life, right? This carnation, as the Buddhists might say. And you get a cut-off effect, and that's why we have this organic portal theory. Please look at my organic portal video, this energy stealing theorem video, because they're cut off and they're not in the upper Merkaba or the upper chakras, and they have no vision. Ask them. How come I have vision every day? It's got to do with the upper Merkaba and all this stuff. And you can watch that video where I had a funny little. I finally caught some energy stealing on tape, even though to the inept mind it might look like nothing, but it's happened for many years at university, and I was just so stoked to get it on tape finally. Anyway, so it does matter what you eat, but the psychosomatics seem to play a large role, because they make the tangential energy of what brain cascade of chemicals occurs. No, emotions aren't just created in the amalgama or in the brain somewhere, as some scientists will think. And I was going to go into something to do with cannabis and how some scientists seem to think that it does something to emotions in the brain. And actually, in my note, cannabis suppression cartels, I concluded the exact opposite of the lady, saying it hinders. I said, oh, you mean it actually creates proper emotionality? We'll skip past that one, but you can get cut off. Your refraction indices, as I keep calling it, the way your cells communicate all these, not just infrared light, all the spectrum that your cells communicate in, I call the refraction indices, plural of index. And it's just the way your cells communicate. Now, if you have less charged food, that's going to affect that. What do I mean by that? Well, if you eat live food, for instance, they're putting plugs in an orange, and the orange can charge an iPod. They're putting a plug in a tree. This is happening at universities. They're putting, and it's on the pages in consciousazine, explore consciousazine, that's why I made it, it's free. So they're putting plugs into trees, getting some power out of that too. It's just showing that there's life force. We're not talking about chi, we're talking about electricity now. And we're not talking about chi energy. There's like that real electricity and of life force when you eat alive foods, and you feel this and you get more charged. Now, Himalaya salt, amazing. Celtic sea salt as well, sea salts. They're the same, they give you charge, so you put that in your smoothie. You can also sweeten it. Some people aren't aware that salt sweeten things, and you don't just need xanthan gum and date syrup or something. Put a little bit of salt in there and just see what happens in your mixtures. Just play around with it. So there's many ways that I believe we can cut ourselves off from our own vision and our own path, which would be, again, third dimensional, a sort of idea. However, you have a higher path as well. We're not going into everything today. I just want to explain how I think psychosomatics fit into all this, because if you start creating different brain chemicals, for instance, and you set off certain cascades of brain chemicals, it does change your body. And we know that, and that's very scienced out, They've caught up to the sages there. So, say I'm sitting here all day in uni and I don't go outside and ground every 4 to 6 hours barefoot on the earth. I notice the difference. I feel less lofty, I feel less light. I also have too much positive charge, my hairline starts receding, everything, because you're creating cortisol and stress hormones. Now, you do need some cortisol, look into that. It is kind of beneficial, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right? And we've learnt that about everything. There's a saying, everything in moderation. So, even the charge can affect you. Even grounding can affect you. Even what you do during the day can affect you. And I'm not saying that's going to necessarily cut off your vision. Don't put words in my mouth, please. However, I do think it affects us, and we're a whole being. This is whole healing. Holistic health. Holistic, the whole thing. We're not just segmenting, we're not just taking care of one dimension, we're not just taking care of one grid, one ideology like veganism, or, we're not taking care of just one thing. It's a multi-dimensional approach. And I think this is healthy, right? Why would it be healthier to take a segmented approach for? Maybe for a segmented period, but for the entirety, why would it be healthy to take a segmental sort of way of doing something? Like saying veganism is for everyone and always for everyone, and that's the only way to eat, and it's the best way to eat. No animal oils, no, I believe life is ascending and descending, as I said in the previous segments in this video when I got a bit irate, because I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. I think we need discernment, and multidimensionality really brings us into a discernment state, because it's complex, it's not simple. And notice simple strategies make you not think anymore. You've just found what Terence McKenna called the thrill that kills the answer. Answers are the thrill that kills. And, you know, yes, once you hit an answer, you get more questions and etc. But what he said there has some merit too. Especially in the way in the context I'm trying to put it forth, where you segment and you stay stuck in grids of ideology or ideology. I like it how Terence McKenna used to say it, ideology, like idiot, you know. Anyway, so, you know, for instance, I don't drink just water every day. It's said, you know, a lot of Japanese research waking up, drink 4 cups of water or something, I forgot the research. 4 cups of water in the morning, strict. I don't do that, ever. One morning it might be 5 cups, one morning it might be 2 cups. One morning it might be a cup with apple cider vinegar in it with 2 cups. One morning it might be 3 cups of apple cider vinegar almost straight. Do you know what I'm saying? Every day is different. I don't know if you've noticed that, but every day is different. And I choose to live by that. And especially now we're out of the box of history, and the time wave zero has showed us we're in the maximum novelty domain, and that's why a lot of people are struggling with their health, because you're not recognizing where you are in time, not just space. Yeah, you're here on Earth, and you know there's a lot. History ended in green. And you've got, you know, permaculture, etc., all the green sort of movements coming about. That would be like space, but knowing where you are in time really helps that, and it helps you know where you are in space as well. You know, knowing that it's a coincidentia oppositorum state now in a maximum novelty domain has helped me greatly in my health. It's sort of made me affirm what I was doing with this not eating the same ever. So I think it is healthy to know where we are in time. And for instance, in my exobiological conundrum video, where I was saying, what if there is no aliens? Yeah, relax for a second. Leave your cognitive dissonance out of this for a second and stop making me guilty on this one. What if there isn't? Just what if there isn't aliens? You're saying, what if there is? Yeah, well, I'm saying, yeah, okay, there probably is. It is a big universe. But what if there isn't? What if it's probably that they're not, and we're the height of creation? That brings the cosmic drama back to us, and it's not like we're the center of the universe, like literally, topologically speaking. I'm talking temporally. What if we're kind of the height of creation right now? And I don't know, all this sort of stuff helps, and this is psychosomatics. This is psychosomatics, this is thinking. Now, before we move on, I do want to say, I hate how, well, it shows me your confused states, I should say. Not that I hate anything. It shows me your confused states when you say mind, body, spirit. You see that written everywhere, right? You've all seen it written everywhere. I know you have. There's groups on Facebook. It's just written everywhere. Mind, body in the middle, then spirit. I don't think so. So, you know, if we're talking up and down dimensionally, it's obviously spirit, soul, mind, and body. The body touching, the second dimension, you know, what seems to be touching, right? Seems to be touching. You know, facing into the world, I call it, the lower dimensionality, our body. You know, a little pinprick of the ineffable sticking in here. So, if we're going to look from the surface backward and up, then it's only backward because we're facing backward, and 2012 is a turning point, and we're facing forward now in our eyes, by the way. Anyway, if we're to take that view of reverse what I was saying about body, mind, spirit, here's how I do it, here's how I put it, and here's how I think it is. Body, soul, mind, spirit. Now, soul mind is that the mediary that brings vowels of the angels and the music of the spheres, the orchestra of the universe, passes that code, your pineal, etc., your cerebrospinal fluid, all that good stuff, passes it. The soul mind is the passing machine, and that's really you, because you can be inhabited with spirits, exorcisms, etc. This is how it works. You can talk to plant spirits, but your soul mind, and it's not your body, your soul mind is the passing machine. Passing is from computer science. I'm a computer scientist. I've just studied a Bachelor of Business double IT majors, and so I've majored in IT. That's where that comes from, P-A-R-S-E, and it means to just change, say, a numeric into a string. A string is like a sentence of characters like words. So you're changing a number into a word. That's an example of passing. And I believe we pass the angel's vows into syllables, what us monkey bodies use, the syllables, and so on. That's just an example to give you the idea. So back to psychosomatics and the soul mind. There's three nervous systems. You have the CNS, the central nervous system. You have the middle nervous system, the ganglion. Then you have the efferent nervous system, which are like capillaries. So it basically mimics our blood system. You have your huge aorta arteries, right? Then you have your veins, and then you have your capillaries. Now it's the same with the nervous system. There's three nervous systems. And so the middle nervous system, I believe, is where our thoughts seem to relay on, and when I'm saying things at a forefront, it always hurts right here on this ganglion associated with my speaking chakra. And there's certain mantras you say, Mother, I'm not guilty, frustrated. That's all associated with I think there's like 12 nerve bundles on that ganglion. Don't quote me on the number. I've forgotten exactly how many. I think it might be 12 here. 12, and then it's like 7. It's just different ganglion nerve endings associated to each chakra, the main 7 chakras. Okay, so there's an association with these ganglia to, I believe, our psychosomatic, and that's where the somatic meets the psycho, or the psyche, right? Mental, soul, mind. You see it now? And so the psychosomatic healing that we can do, my favorite one, I always show everyone knows, is the one where Villy Doctor went into the Google Tech team and presented that, I think it's Saraja's meditation, which is an Indian Australian lady, because it said that in the comment. So where it comes from, origins, I don't know. But that one I really like because it treats the middle nervous system, and that's the psychosomatic sort of passing center. So if your ganglia are full of relaying thoughts, and you'll notice this when you get stoned or high on cannabis. Some girl I was sleeping, I just randomly met and slept with one time, and I have a lot of synchronicities, don't judge me. And so one girl one time said to me, yeah, I quit that. I had too many thoughts. And it made me think of what Terence McKenna said about it. Paranoia? Oh, you mean those extra thoughts? And I laughed in that lecture of his. I thought, yeah, too right. So, and I've noticed that now that I've quit cannabis. In a different way, there's these extra thoughts you get. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that and its correlation to the fourth dimension, astral, emotional, sort of psychic sort of realm or dimension. So when you're relaying these thoughts over yourself all day, there's no room for extra information. So this is like a cognitive dissonance of the nervous system. You know, when you find a cognitive dissonance in someone, like you mentioned the word meat to a vegetarian or a vegan, they just go boom, boom. It's like you've hit a bloody a rod of some sort or a brain barrier. as I call it. It's like this ping. It's like they can't, and they probably get a high pitch. Who the hell knows? I sometimes experience this myself, actually. So we all get this, and you know, we need to release this off our nervous system. All the sort of things that are relaying, because that's a relaying thought that these vegans are having. Meat's bad, meat's bad, meat's bad, eat this, meat's bad. Okay, so this meditation that I've put on the meditation page, I think is highly efficacious for this, releasing so that we can pass new information from above. Not from me, from above, from inside of you. What you're picking up as a little antenna from the cosmos. Okay, so I think that this is very important, this type of psychosomatics and health. Because you're relaying the same thing every day, you've got less room to accept the new, and it's like a body or nervous system cognitive dissonance. Now, cognitive dissonance, for those who don't know, is where you basically can't accept new information because it's an existing belief that's so sturdily there. That's why I call them the rock brains, and I hit their brain barriers. Now, we all have, obviously there's a spectrum. Some people are incredibly dense. I don't know if you've noticed that, I have. Some people are not so dense. Now, you know, there's obviously a spectrum there. And find yourself on the spectrum, do your work, etc. So then we have the efferent nervous system. I also think the efferent nervous system is very sensitive, and we pick up a lot of other people's vibes on the efferent nervous system. I mean, once you get a real good aura happening, you can actually feel bacteria hitting it and stuff. You'll hear Muntak Chia talk about that. And I'm definitely in agreement with him. When I've been in some really nice meditations, you get super sensitive like that. And I think the efferent nervous system is kind of like that. It's super sensitive. It'll pick stuff up that way from the outer world in. So now we're not talking about the inner worlds out, which is what I was explaining before. If you've got constant relays of thought, you can't pass in the higher. Now I'm talking about, you know, the stuff we pick up. Empaths, ring a bell? So I'm an empath too, and the more sensitive that you are, you kind of more of an empath, I've noticed. You'll get all these indigo girls on the internet that I've talked to, and they'll be really sensitive, and I'll have to chill out a bit and relax my speak and spiel a bit, otherwise they'll run. So sorry about that. I have a Christ energy. I'm very outspoken. I'm not very Buddhic energy. Yeah, you know, Buddhas are a bit apathetic. Buddha's almost completely left the earth sphere, and they're of the moon chain. The Christs are the master of the masters, and luckily we're still here. And we face into the world, and I call it first crack consciousness, and crack consciousness, the outspoken nature. And Christs are of the earth chain. You can look into that, Google it all. There's numbers like 555, Moses, all this stuff. There's like carnations of numbers. It's quite a theory. Look into that one. So psychosomatics and the soul mind. It's soul as in SOLE, your mind. I just on my web page, I put SOUL just to, I don't know, just to give that idea over to people that it's, you know, it's you I'm talking about, and we're not talking about ideas from other people that you've absorbed in your brain horizontally. And I was trying to get the idea of something inside you now. It relates to the triple Danjan or Tanchen system of the Taoism. They discovered that and they put that theorem forward. That's the crystal room, third eye, you guessed it, limbic area, eye of Horus, hieroglyphs. Then you've got your heart brain. Heart Math Institute's figured out that our toroidal field from the heart, 6,000 times strong. I think 6,000 times stronger than the brain. Brain's one, magnetic field. So that's interesting. And then you've got the gut brain, or the gut center. Now we're not just talking about just the navel or just the solar plexus. It's basically the solar plexus, but it's those centers there. And it's those centers there, and it's those there's three main rooms, you know, the crystal room, the heart brain, and the gut brain, or the gut instinct, right? No, it wasn't your intestine talking to you. You know, we've all had gut feelings, right? Well, it's not literally your gut. So it's the chakra systems or energetic systems called chakras, and moreover these major centers that I just mentioned, the 3 major centers. That's what I equivocate to soul mind, those 3 major centers. So I think it is important, to clear yourself pretty much daily, because, there's a lot of information, and I mean, I guess the more we evolve and the more information we need, we should be clearing more and more often. Now, it goes hand in hand with eating good, because there's clearing that happens when you eat good. I don't know, once you start researching, you'll find that this substance does this, like activated charcoal gets rid of 4,000 toxins in your body. Diatomaceous earth, zeolite, there's all these things, and then there's normal foods, beetroot, that's a clearing thing. Then there's hibiscus tea, that's a diuretic. Pear juice, diuretic, which means it pulls stuff out and it makes you pee more. So you actually get rid of the toxins. That's why diuretics are good. So I mean, I don't think it's just about the diuretics, just about the good food we eat. Like I'm saying, I think it is about psychosomatics too, and clearing that part of the body, the nervous system, not just by eating cacao, which is a nervous system food because it's purple. Not just in those ways, and definitely cacao creates some sort of psychosomatic clearing, which is amazing. And it's all got to do with refraction indices of the cells and how much gunk is in the way of the light trying to travel through, right? So, if you have other little beings in you, all these parasites, well, they're little beings, like you're a little being to Earth, right? They're little beings, and they have their own aura and their own way of life and so on, and I'm sure they're clicking over somehow, doing their own thinking, so to speak. So that gets in the way of your cells, which I consider more me than just the bacterium. Even though I'm aware, yes, that we have 10 times more bacteria than cells in and on us, which is amazing, right? Startling. You're a big bacteria ball, girls. How's that one sit? You're a big bacteria ball. I think, it affects the way we third dimension, our linear timeline, all of it. And seeing as they're their own beings and so on, I think they can get in the way, and so not only is it important to clear them, but, from what I've found is that, for instance, there's that, what's his name, Parjajan or something, it's on the conscious knowledge page, and he did go into a university. He got seen not eating for 15 days, which isn't the longest. I'd like them to sit these guys there for a year and watch them, honestly, because I've heard just the normal sort of yogi can go without 40 days of food. So he didn't drink or eat anything, pass stools or piss while he was in there for 15 days, which is amazing in itself. And he said since 7, he went look on a spiritual search. He lives in a cave somewhere. And this is on the Conscious Knowledge page in consciousazine.com. And he hasn't eaten since he's 7 years old or something. He hasn't eaten or drunk water since he's 7 years old. He says he gets, there's a third eye sort of thing that comes to his palate and gives him a little bit of nectar each day. Some goddess he met when he was about 12 or something, I think he said, gave him this ability. And that's how he sustains himself, apparently. And obviously meditation. There's also that boy with the divine powers, but we're not going to go into that because, that could be a little sus. Not saying it is, could be. I'd like them to take these people for a full year because then we'll know for sure, right? Then there's no questioning. Then I can't even question it. Then. If he's not eating, shitting, pissing, or drinking water or whatever else for a full year, well then you kind of have to believe it. 15 days is like, So you know, there is that element. People meditate and they don't even need food. So I'm just trying to pull the food out of the way now, pull that second dimension out of the way for a second. You know, wherein we're talking more about psychosomatics now before I turn off the tape here. It's been like half an hour. So there is that end of the deal. That psychosomatic seems to over the body. Now what's that all about? How can it over the body or rule over the body? The mind rules over the body. Well, this is part of this down-dimensional creation process, that creation occurs down-dimensionally. It's not the other way around. The creation, the divine pulsations make the schematics, make the tunnel harmonics onto the whatever grid, you know, the colors of the seventh dimension, the rays, and so on. And then, you know, it's onto the fifth dimensional living light membrane layer, which is, kind of has the knowledge of all creation. It goes tangential, it's unpolarized, and it goes tangential into, you know, specificality, you might say, and emotionality and so on, and polarization, and learn polarization from science as well. Look into light polarization. It might help your understanding. This is higher theory, you know, this is very intuitive stuff. It's going to be hard to induce this and induct this through inductive reasoning in, you know, any other way than inductive reasoning, sort of in experiments. It's going to be quite difficult. We'll be able to, but yeah. So how can that happen? That way, because that's how creation occurs, down-dimensionally. Right, so what I've found is that this goes back to something that happened with me a long time. I realized that a long time ago that the fifth dimension can thus pull us back in and unpolarize us. It's the place of unpolarized light. It means light has not gone into spin of the particle and tangential. So the fifth dimension being that place of unpolarized light can have this effect on our body. So you're in spins, right? You're in information then. This is how they do teleportation, right? You've heard of the teleportation of photonics happening in the world around this time, around 2012. It's now 2016. And you've heard of this teleportation of particles. Now, that's where they're going, oh, okay, we made the spin of this particle like this, that one acted immediately to the spin. The unified field theory, baby. Remember? That's what's happening. They're talking about unified field and all this. Now, somehow we must be able to teleport that way as well. That's going to be incredibly difficult to do that with the human body. I don't want to talk about that right now. Mainly, and I don't want to mention that we're doing that already, but in a way, not in the physical way some people are thinking I just meant it. Mental projection, that sort of manner. Anyway, so how can old mate not eat and drink and all that? Well, obviously because he'd done it from a young age, so he didn't enter any parasites, he didn't enter any ill psychosomatics and so on, right? He kept his information clean from the get-go. So we're all way behind him, and we've kind of like got no hope sort of thing because we've ruined ourselves already. That's the way I see it. It's going to be incredibly difficult, and I'm not wrong, because that's why the Buddhists or some monk schools won't take anyone who's older than 12. They'll say, no, sorry, because they can't teach you. They don't want to unlearn you and unpolarize you, basically. They have to get you into the non-polarized fifth dimensional perspective. You know, the state of the now, etc., etc. So that's how this guy's achieving that, though, besides the little nectar thing to nourish his physical body. Largely, he's become very fifth dimensional and very not the second dimensional body. He's definitely not trapped in fourth dimensional emotionalities and psyches and so on, right? And grids of, you know, the sixth dimension and the fourth dimension are connected in that way. Grids of psyches and so on. The dimensions are inextricably sort of connected. That's why psychosomatics is so uber important, and I'm mentioning it because of that reason. It's not segmented separately, really. It's segmentation in oneness kind of thing. It's hard to explain, isn't it? So he's become more fifth dimensional, and what I noticed when I get that feeling and release back like that, pain seems to start to dissipate, and we unpolarize. You're not in the spin of information. What happens? I've heard people say, clear your mind in this meditation. Sorry, I poke fun. So you've heard people say, clear your mind. God, I'm an arsehole, aren't I? So that's what's going on. He's got a very clear mind, and you can see it in his picture. He's like this. G.I. Gurdjieff, that fella, he was like that too, that stunned spiritual look. Who else? Shiva Puri Baba. He also had that stunned spiritual look, like eyes wide open, just staying like that, right? And they're not in neurotic psychosomatics, you see. That's what happens. We come in and we contract in contraction cycles of thoughts. Passion flower, awesome to bust you out of deep-seated contractions and psychosomatic ones, not just addictions. Oh, wait a minute, but what's an addiction? It's not just a physical thing, it's a psychosomatic addiction. Some people are just addicted to this action when they're smoking. They've told me, and this is kind of well known. So addictions are psychosomatic. They're not just the physical body craving for the nicotine. That's not what's the only thing going on there. There is very much so a sort of psychosomatic connection with every addiction that you can think of. Now, hence the importance, right? Because people are largely addicted to things, and we have very addictive lifestyles. You got to work every day. That's an addiction. There's all sorts of addictions that the psychosomatic realm, that is the psychosomatic realm, and the psychosomatic realm can take care of, as all the aforementioned that I've just been talking about. So that's what old mate there is doing with his not eating and pooing, shitting and pissing and drinking water, basically not being a body. He's being fifth dimensional. And the fifth dimensional part of us is back there, up and in. It's not this third dimensional zonal reality that Benjamin Callenberg, the man, it's a less identified form. So what I've noticed is when we just feel that light, it seems to come into the cells and not give a charge, but it gives a clearing. And in that way, when you clear your mind, you don't have the cravings. So when you're being the fifth dimensional perspex, just a quick addendum to help everyone here. So when you're being the fifth dimensional perspex, it's like this. It's like admitting you have the problem. That is a fifth dimensional perspex, because being the problem is the third dimensionality of it. Being the addiction is the third and the fourth dimensional part of that. Being emotionally attached to a certain way of eating, being emotionally attached to smoking the bong at the end of the day or having a joint, being emotionally attached to anything, right? You go home and you have to have that, and there's often an emotional attachment. To really help you just psychosomatically realize and help yourself out of things, Realize that when you're in that, then you're in that. And when you step back, you're not. And then so try and step back every time you face the thing.